We'll start with Larry Sand. So you know he's done more than anybody else on the issue of K-12 education and labor unions, and has experience as an actual teacher himself, which gives him some real credibility.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir.
Okay. Hello, everybody. To those of you who have given up hope, why are you here? Seriously, you will, hopefully we will give you some hope today. That's what I think this is about. I mean, I'll be giving you some bad news, but we're going to follow it with good news. And I want to thank anybody. Okay, but seriously, I want to thank everybody for coming today and for skipping church. Okay, what's the biggest problem in education? What's the biggest problem in the country today? I just gave away my answer. Some of you would say ISIS, some of you would say Korea, maybe the economy, healthcare. I say it's education. Because education is the #1 problem because it's failing so many of our children. In California, 25% of the state's 6 million students, 25% are unable to perform basic reading skills. And without being able to read on an adult level, no one's going to be able to know and figure out what the other problems are. The 2015 NAEP, it's the nation's report card, revealed that California's 4th graders ranked 49th in reading and 48th in math. In California, 55% of high school grads are not eligible for public universities. 44% of students going to Cal State schools need remediation. These are 2014 numbers. I couldn't find any reliable updates, but I'm guessing it's worse than that 44% now. In LAUSD in Los Angeles, we were shooting for a 49% graduation rate, 49% last year. They had to do something. They didn't make the students work harder. They just gave them credit recovery classes, these phony empty classes that students could take after school and on the weekend, and I think going to the bathroom. Maybe the last part's a bit of an exaggeration. And zoom, boom, the graduation rate went up to 75% practically overnight. A quarter of Los Angeles students, only a quarter go to four-year colleges. We did away with the CASE, the California High School Exit Exam. Why did we do away with it? Because students couldn't pass it, and they weren't graduating high school. So instead of trying to make bringing the students up, we did away with the test. And something that not many people know is that the high school exit exam was really a 10th grade exit exam. It only measured skills through 10th grade, and still high school students, so many high school students couldn't pass it. Grad rates, dropout rates, fake news, people. When you hear about dropout rates, they don't include schools of opportunity, or what we used to call back in the day reform schools, or back in New York we used to call them 600 schools. Some of you may remember those. Maybe some of you went to them. But seriously, when a student gets thrown out of a public school, maybe he's had a little bit of a problem with the law, goes to an opportunity school, and he's knocked out of that school, he's not counted as a district dropout. Also, believe it or not, a lot of students don't bother dropping into high school. They quit school after middle school. And you can't count them technically as high school dropouts, but let's face it, they're still dropouts. What's causing all this? Glad you asked. Not enough money, more fake news. We have doubled our spending in constant dollars over the last 40 years. Lisa's going to be talking more about this issue, spending, and we've got nothing for the increase. Teacher shortage, that's pretty much fake news too. The late great Andrew Coulson of the Cato Institute wrote in 2015 that there's an evidence shortage for the teacher shortage. Now he was talking nationally, and he wrote that since 1970, the number of teachers has grown 6 times faster than the number of students. Enrollment grew about 8% from 1970 to 2010, but the teaching workforce grew 50%. In California, we're actually laying off teachers. At the same time, we're complaining of a teacher shortage. In Santa Ana, 287 teachers are laid off because the teachers' unions pushed for and got a 10% pay raise in 2015, and the money had to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from what would have been paid to the 287 newest hired, now laid off teachers. San Diego, 900 layoffs. In LAUSD, we just got rid of, in quotes, 1,300 useless administrators, but not to worry, they'll still be working. They'll be pushing papers in a different office. If there's really a teacher shortage, let's put them back in the classroom. Now, that said, there may be a teacher shortage in certain areas. Some districts, let's say, are short in science teachers. Why not pay science teachers more? To get them from private industry? No, thanks to the teachers' unions, we have a rigid step and column way of paying teachers, and we can't do that. Okay, so what's the biggest problem here in Los Angeles? Well, there are many, but I say number one is the California Teachers Association, which considers itself the fourth co-equal branch of government. They consider themselves the fourth co-equal branch of government. Former Democrat State Senate President Don Parada said that. A Democrat State Senate President said that. CTA is the biggest political spender in the state by far, which is why Sacramento, politically speaking, is a cesspool. The unions and their compliant school boards and legislators have had a pernicious effect on education in California. Tenure, seniority, the dismissal statutes, I'm sure you've heard about this before, they keep us from maximizing our teaching force. Eric Hanushek has talked famously about getting rid of the bottom 5 to 7% of teachers, which he says would give us a world-class education system. In California, let's take Hanushek's middle number, 6%. 6% of 300,000 teachers is 18,000 teachers. If each one of those 18,000 poor-performing teachers teaches 25 kids in a class, that's 450,000 students every year who are getting a subpar or worse education every year. Okay, now for the good news. Charter schools, 1,250 in the state, serving 600,000 kids. A little bit of bad news, there are 200,000 kids languishing on wait lists. The Janus case, which could come before the Supreme Court next year, if it flies, teachers and other public employees will not have to pay a union as a condition of employment. The unions are nervous about this, especially the teachers' unions. So what do? Now we have forced indoctrination, union orientation sessions for new teachers, AB 119, you can look it up. As a matter of fact, I had an op-ed in the Orange County Register Friday about this. The Trinity case, which did pass muster in the Supreme Court in the last session, is a step toward eliminating religion as a reason for not allowing vouchers and other types of school choice. The unions are nervous. NEA, the National Education Association, had a hysterical reaction to PBS's School Inc. Once again, the late, great Andrew Coulson put this together pretty much before he died. They finished it after he died. But he did most of the work, and he traveled the world, and he found that in such disparate places as Sweden, Chile, and Korea, choice and competition work, and the public schools there do not work. So what did the NEA do? They scolded PBS for airing it. They're getting nervous. American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten said that vouchers and other kinds of choice are, quote, only slightly more polite cousins of segregation. This was an outrage. I put a piece together for City Journal, which will be displayed somewhere later. It was a lie, and it was particularly ironic lie because the most segregated institution in this country are our zip code mandated public schools. Okay. In closing, I think Keith's getting ready to put up another sign.
Who has the sign?
I want to tell you about a plan which could save California. It's a great idea. A man in Orange County, his name is John Kruger. Some of you might know him. And I'm just going to give you the basics. He figured out that 13 years of private schooling in this state costs about 120 grand, whereas 13 years of public schooling costs about 195 grand. So what John wants to do, and this is the brilliance of his plan, I think, is take that $75,000 that would have gone to a public school if a parent decides to send their kid to a private school and use that money to fund the kid's college. And this is such a good idea. The taxpayer wouldn't feel any difference.
For 1 year.
Be no difference to the taxpayer. Student debt would go out the window, and students would get a better education. John's already lined up political consultants. He's done polling. He's lining up entertainments from endorsers. He's got an online calculator coming. And all this will come out as an initiative, hopefully in 2018, if not 2020. The idea is to get it on in 18, and if it doesn't fly then, to come back in 20. This guy is serious, and he's got a great idea, and this has not been done anywhere else. Anyway, in closing, what's going to save us in education is choice. You have choice when you go buy yogurt. You have choice when you go buy computers. You have choice when you buy cat food or anything else. Why not in education? It's time. Thank you very much.